Hey YouTube, it's Mark from This Cruise Life, and I just spent 6 days on board Carnival Radiance. I'm going to tell you all about the ship and what I loved, what I didn't love, and what I hated about this experience. Now, Carnival Radiance is the final ship in the Sunshine class that I've had a chance to sail on. I've sailed on Sunshine, Sunrise, and now I can compare all of those to Radiance. So, let's go. In true This Cruise Life fashion, I'm going to start by talking about what I loved about the food. And there was quite a bit to love about the food. First off, that buffet, they have redesigned that entire space. Even though it's a smaller buffet than your typical Carnival ship with only one facing, they've made it 360 degrees so it's easy to pop in, grab what you need, and then head on out from there. Speaking of that smaller buffet, that also means there's a smaller seating section in that Lido area. I do love that Carnival has added little placards to the table saying, hey, if you're done eating, kind of vacate that table for someone else. Appreciate that. And I love how they've redone that buffet. So the second story that we love up there, that kind of secret space, they've redone it so that there's an elevator to make it accessible. It looks like it was just part of the original design. Great job, Carnival, on making that space look great. A couple of food items that I will mention that I loved from the buffet. First and foremost, the mac and cheese. I'm not usually a fan of Carnival mac and cheese, but what they did was they had the mac and cheese and then they had the sauce separate, so you could sauce it up to your heart's content. I absolutely loved that. I also loved that they had a dedicated station for Indian food on the buffet. Yum. Okay, now we don't spend a lot of time at the buffet on a Carnival cruise ship. You know that. We head on over to Blue Iguana where we had our lunch burritos, our huevos rancheros at breakfast, our breakfast burritos, the arepas. Love Blue Iguana, and it was delicious here. I also got to try the barbecue rum runner burger, the new burger at Guy's Burger Joint. Now, it's one of their Celebration Key new offerings. Rocky did get to try it first on the Panorama, but I was a close second follow. Loved that. If you get a chance to try that new barbecue rum runner, trust me, you will enjoy that one. The Carnival Deli, oh my gosh, we got multiple sandwiches from here. There wasn't really ever a long line. The grilled cheese and ham, I know it sounds basic, but it was delicious. And lastly, I can't not mention Shaq's Big Chicken. I love those French fries. You've heard me talk about them before. They're more like thin crisps with the buffalo sauce and the ketchup. Ah, and cruise tip. If you're not feeling deep fried or fried chicken, you can sub out your chicken patty for a grilled chicken breast. Now, it took about 10-15 minutes of a wait for them to get that prepared for me, but it was made fresh and it was tasty. I am sad to say that the breakfast biscuits are still not good. They're like concrete in your mouth. Go watch our original Shaq's Chicken review for breakfast. Lastly, I will mention the main dining room. We had such an attentive staff all week long on board Carnival Radiance. There were several dishes that we really loved and stick around for some other stuff that we didn't love as much, but a couple of standouts, the chicken parmigiana, the tiramisu, those were both amazing standouts on this cruise. Okay, so that's a lot to love about the food. We didn't go hungry and we weren't ever thirsty. So let's talk about what we loved about the drinks. Carnival Radiance has fan favorite alchemy. We spent quite a bit of time here because we had the Cheers package. We got to try new pink potion number 9 and a couple of the other cocktails that have been added to the menu. Check out thiscruiselife.com for all of the updates, including the new menus, along with pictures of the pretty drinks. Cruise tip, when you are at Alchemy, don't forget to request the little treats. Now, unfortunately, it is only on formal nights these days, but hey, don't miss out and tell them Mark sent you. And while the casino technically doesn't belong in the drinks section, it's huge for the size of this ship. But what's equally huge is the bar inside the casino. It was by far the fastest service we got all cruise long. If you needed something quick, you walked up to any one of those bartenders, asked for it, and they delivered. Love, love, love that huge casino bar on board Radiance. Okay, so that's the drinks. Let's talk about entertainment. Good news, there's a lot to do on board Carnival Radiance. And don't miss the sail away party. It starts right away as you leave port. It was packed. And now, while I'm kind of over the wobble at this point, the people watching is second to none. And there's just always a lot of great entertainment that goes on with the sail away party. Additionally, the playlist performers put on Rock Revolution Summer of '69. This is a revised or revamped show for Carnival. It's got an extensive set that comes out into the main floor. It's got drones, it's got technology, it's got your heart pumping and your fists pounding. It is a great show. Now, the music isn't our taste per se, but truly a show not to be missed. And if you can, sit down on the main floor. Speaking of entertainment, Dee Dee and I loved the nightclub. We went almost every single night this sailing. The DJ did seem to play more music that people wanted to dance to versus the typical Carnival nightclub, so that was a lot of fun. And cruise tip, don't miss the Amp It Up. It was the best drink in the nightclub, and we had a couple this sailing. I also always love the Diamond Party. We had a Diamond brunch this sailing, and we met a bunch of fellow Diamond cruisers. We had such a great time, and we toasted with a limoncello to start the lunch. Lastly, and this one might be for the kids, or you kids at heart, and that's the Towel Animal Theater. The amount of creativity we've seen this past year with Towel Animal Theater just blows our minds. Look at some of these Towel Animal creations. Trust me, it's picture worthy. Don't miss out on your cruise. Carnival Radiance is an older Carnival ship. She was formerly the Carnival Victory before going through a massive transformation for the brand. Now, I had the chance to sail on the original Carnival Victory, so it was cool to see the ship after this transformation. What I will tell you is when you walk in, it looks like a new ship. That atrium, they give you that true wow moment where you walk in and it's that skylight that goes all the way to the ceiling from deck 3 all the way to the top of the ship, and that skylight that shines down. Love that on the older Carnival ships. It really is cool. And it looks fresh. It looks new. What I will say is it reminds me of maybe sailing on the Marriott of the Seas. There's a lot of beiges and a lot of browns and tans. Again, looks really nice. But if you're looking for some of those old touches from the Carnival ships, the neon and the dotty boards that Rocky and I love, those are all pretty much gone. Now, there are some classic Joe Farkas touches. The ship mural by the guest services area, don't miss that. And some of the tile work in that main atrium, really cool touches. You can still find them if you know where to look for them. And even though we love some of those old designs, seeing some of the new paint chip off reveals what that ship used to look like. And we actually might prefer the browns and the beiges. So great job on the refit. Because it's an older Carnival ship, it still has that sauna that's included. It's co-ed, so Dee Dee and I were both able to spend some time in there. Now, they have gutted a chunk of that sauna to make it accessible, so you do lose some of that usable space. But the locker room is right next door. Both the men's and women's locker rooms are right next door. Huge showers. You just have so much more room than you do in the staterooms with those curtains. Now, there's also a huge included gym. We didn't have an issue finding equipment even once the sailing. Cardio equipment or even the weight equipment. I overdid it one day, but there was a ton of space in that gym. So I think if you're looking for that on vacation, you're going to like this gym. You're also going to probably really like the included adults only Serenity area. We also, just like the gym, didn't have an issue finding a space to lay out or enjoy the decks even once this sailing. It was fantastic. Now, it was a little chilly this sailing. We wore jackets up on Serenity, so that might be why, but there was plenty of space to lay out on Serenity. Some other random design pieces that we loved, the hand wash stations all throughout the buffet area. We really appreciate that. Cruise tip, keep yourself healthy on those cruises, and after you touch any shared utensils, wash your hands before eating your food. We also love on deck 3 the promenade, that outdoor area where you can go outside. This is one of the best places on the ship to take in sail away or to go out and just kind of look out at night. It is an amazing spot on that ship, and it runs both on starboard as well as port side up and down the ship. And so don't miss deck 3 promenade. And lastly, I just want to talk a little bit about the stateroom, a couple of features that we loved in that stateroom. One, I know this is a little controversial, but we love those night lights that Carnival is installing across the fleet, where when you get up at night, a little night light comes on underneath the closets. Love that addition to the ship. And we also love the energy efficiency where you put your card in. There's a nice little delay on the Radiance. So unlike some of the cruises we've been on, when you pull that card out, the room goes black. There's a nice delay allowing you to navigate the room before the lights go out. Now, I will say when we boarded, there was already a card just put in the slot from either our steward or a former guest. from the Carnival Firenze. And so it kind of bypassed the entire energy efficiency purpose of that installation. So it's kind of strange. Carnival spent millions of dollars to put these features in, and then they just get bypassed with a card. So keep that in mind. Your mileage may vary on energy efficiency. Okay, so that's a lot to love about the ship. Let's talk about some miscellaneous things before I tell you what I didn't love and then what I absolutely hated. It was a super smooth embark in the Long Beach Cruise Terminal. So we had 10 to 10:30 check-in, and we were already rocking up that ramp at around 10:45. Easy peasy check-in. On the opposite end, we also loved the debark process. This was such a smooth debark process. Now, we had an earlier flight, so we couldn't do relaxed debark, and we had to get off the ship a little bit early with everyone else. But truly, from the time we stepped off the ship until the time we made it into the terminal building and through all of the customs lines and out and walked to the garage to pick up our Uber, 20 minutes flat. It was super smooth, even with all of the people that were getting off of the ship. Loved that. Something else that I really loved, our stateroom was clean. If you've watched our other videos from this past year, you know that we've had some challenges with the cleanliness of our stateroom. It almost perfectly passed the Clorox test with just a little bit of dirt and grit, but overall, we felt really that the stateroom was clean. One other miscellaneous thing is the new tender platform that they used in Cabo that goes up against the ship, and then multiple tender boats can come up against that to help with boarding and debarking of passengers. It made the tender process so much smoother and easier. Loved that. Absolutely loved that. And I loved having 2 days in Cabo. The first day, we stayed on the ship while everyone else got off and they explored the port. And then the second day, when everyone stayed on the ship, we actually got off the ship and we went and explored Cabo and pretty much had it to ourselves. Now, we got to meet up with Rocky and Jared and Jeff and our friend Brett, and we had a great day in Cabo. Loved having 2 days. Speaking of, we also loved Ensenada. Now, I know a lot of you have maybe been to Ensenada or Cabo, but if you're looking for some new things to do or some things that we love, let us know in the comments and we will share some of our favorite excursions in both of those ports because there are some fun things to do. Several of them are 21 plus, so just keep that in mind. Okay, one last thing I want to mention in the other category, and that is a crew shout out. We had some great crew members on this ship that we interacted with. Pow Pow from the Fun Squad, Lie, our cruise director, Pan, and many of the other playlist performers that we had a chance to meet and interact with. And I have to shout out Joanne from Alchemy. She literally saw us coming and would have our drinks waiting for us. She took great care of us all week long. So, lots to love about our time on board Carnival Radiance. Absolutely, really enjoyed the cruise, but there were several things that we didn't love. So let's go there now. While the things we didn't love were a shorter list, they did have a fairly substantial impact on our cruise. Starting with the food in the main dining room. It seems like maybe the quality has gone down, or at least the seasoning has gone down. One of the things that we love on a Carnival cruise are the soups, and there wasn't a single soup this week that we didn't have to add salt and pepper to because they lacked flavor. This was true with several of the dishes this week. Speaking of the dining room, we don't love that they start tearing down about 30 to 40 minutes into dinner service. They're tearing down all around us as we're eating. It just creates a sense that get out of the dining room. It's time to go, and the crew wants to be done. Now, I will say it wasn't as bad as our last cruise where they were literally picking stuff off of the table around us as we were eating. That was bad. Speaking of the crew, there were some crew members that just felt like they had an attitude this sailing, and there was a lack of interaction we saw. This was particularly true, unfortunately, at one of our favorite spots, Java Blue. I don't know if they were short-staffed, but the staff just seemed frustrated to be there. They accused people that they ordered the wrong drinks. We saw several cruisers, they were like, no, that's what you ordered. And the cruisers were like, no, that's not what we ordered at all. Dee Dee experienced a drink that was made incorrectly, and one of the crew members just rolled their eyes and dumped it out and remade it. Like, we didn't love that experience. And in fact, one of our favorite spots to go on a cruise, we didn't frequent there very often because it just felt like, again, may have been short-staffed. We don't know what was going on there. Not your typical experience. Speaking of staffing, you feel that at the bars as well. We felt that this past year. We've talked about that for a while now. With as Carnival continues to make cuts to their crew staffing, you're starting to feel it and you're starting to see it. Typically in the cleanliness of the staterooms, which we didn't have this time, but you're feeling it at the bars. You're seeing it with the lack of crew interactions. We've said for years the crew is what differentiates Carnival from the rest. They've got the best crew at sea. I will tell you they're starting to lose that competitive advantage, and I hope that they start to make some changes where they re-staff up and re-ramp up on some of their ships. We also didn't love the Diamond and Platinum reunion party. Now, this one wasn't as big of a deal for us since we had the Cheers package, but not once did a server or bartender or officer come up to us and ask us if we wanted a cocktail. The people behind us were mad. They were frustrated and they went and they found an officer and they gave them a piece of their mind. I, it's the reality of having so many platinums and so many diamonds. They don't have enough staff. Speaking of staff, they don't have enough people to actually support the number of folks that they have in those parties. Again, it speaks to the need to overhaul that VIFP program that Carnival has been promising now for some time. We'll see if 2025 is the year that that happens. I mentioned that Radiance is an older ship, so that means that all of the photos are still taken on that main promenade as you're making your way to Alchemy or you're making your way to the aft dining room. And so it creates a pinch point. And so you have to navigate your way through everyone that's in line or everyone that's taking pictures. You just kind of have to force your way through those crowds. Didn't love that. We also didn't love that there was only one playlist production show this entire cruise. Yes, we got to see the performers in the Welcome Aboard show, but Rock Revolution was it on a 6-day cruise. It seems like they could have at least had one more show, if not two. Instead, they opted to fly in magicians. They flew in a couple of singers, but the playlist performers only did one show, which we love that part of Carnival, and so we missed that this cruise. With us having two port days in Cabo, they did a bunch of trivia on the first port day. Now, it didn't impact us so much because we chose to stay on and go to the trivias. We won some trophies because there was no one at them. But then on the sea days, there wasn't as much trivia or events going on. It was weird how they chose to schedule that. Didn't love that. We also didn't love on the second port day, they didn't use that cool new tender platform. They just brought the tender boat against the ship, and it was so rocky and wavy that we had to wait probably 20 minutes before they gave the all clear to start debarking the tender boat. But even then, it was bouncing so much. I actually started to record it because I'm really surprised that they debarked us to the point where a Carnival crew member yelled at us and said, "Stop recording right now." Uh, you could tell it wasn't safe, and that was a little bit scary. So if you have mobility issues or stability issues, make sure that you're watching out for a single decker tender boat because it'll be easier to get back onto your ship. Finally, and this is true for all Carnival ships, debark morning elevators are terrible. John Heald recently talked about this in a post and acknowledged, yes, there's a lot of people getting off the ship. Here's my cruise tip. Click that up button, ride up a couple of floors, and then ride down in an empty elevator. If you click down and you wait, every elevator that comes is going to be jam-packed, and so use that cruise tip. It's going to get you off the ship quicker. That's everything we didn't love. Now, I'm going to talk about some things that didn't have an impact on us. They weren't things that we loved, they weren't things that we didn't love, but they may have an impact on your cruise, so I want to mention those. We didn't use the thermal area this sailing, but it is small. They've got a couple of stone chairs, they've got a dry sauna, an infrared sauna, and a steam room, and that is it. I don't really think that it is worth what they charge for the thermal pass access, so just keep that in mind. Go on a tour on the first day and check it out for yourself, but it is a very small space. We also think the placement of the arcade is in a weird spot. They cut off one of the entrances to the main promenade deck, and so forcing everyone to go through that main entrance of the casino. It didn't have a huge impact on us, but it's just weird because it kind of does create a little bit of a bottleneck in the casino where they funnel everyone. So just keep that in mind. And lastly, because of the chilly temperatures, we didn't get the chance to do the ropes course or the water slides, but know that those courses both look fun and entertaining for, again, young and experienced alike. So check those out on your Carnival Radiance sailing if it's warm enough. That's everything we loved, didn't love, and just a couple of extra things we wanted to throw in there. Now, let's talk about what I hated about my time on board Carnival Radiance. As always, the hated section is pretty small, but there are a couple of things that absolutely had a big impact on our cruise. Starting off with pizza being done at midnight. I know there's been a lot published about this out there where Carnival is funneling everyone to that late night buffet. That late night buffet was terrible. Watch.
Now here's the meatball slider.
What are they supposed to be called?
The meatball slider
They're
is,
sandwich.
look at how melted that cheese is. Doesn't it look... If you need to hammer in a nail... So, my mother always used to say, if you have nothing positive to say, let's move on to the next item, shall we?
Honestly, it was some of the most disappointing food I have ever had on a Carnival cruise ship. And I've been on over 50 of these things. So, Carnival, what are you thinking? What are you doing? We absolutely hated this, and it will begin to impact people's choices on which cruise line they choose to sail. We also hated the lack of enforcement of rules by Carnival staff, things that were clearly observed that they just kind of ignored or walked by. We had someone in the gym that was listening to her audiobook full blast without headphones. Several crew members looked at her, kind of gave her the eye, and just walked away. And so we all got to listen to 50 Shades of Something in the gym as she listened to it out loud. Hated that. We also saw kids jumping from one level of the stairs down to the landing on the next level as security guards literally walked up the neighboring stairwell, not saying a word. It's those sorts of things, the lack of enforcement, that we really hate, and we're seeing that more and more. Speaking of kids, Dee Dee and I had kids on both sides of our stateroom, and so early in the morning, late at night, we had banging, and the parents were in the staterooms across the hall, the balconies across the hall. So they would run between the rooms, they would run between each other's rooms. The parents would yell for them to get over to their room. It was obnoxious. Again, can't control your neighbors on a cruise ship, but absolutely hated that about our experience on Radiance. Finally, I hate the fact that they have slapped crew-only placards on those secret spaces that we love at the front of a Carnival ship. Those are our spaces where we used to go to get away from the crowds. We'd watch stars at night. We'd watch sail away, take a lot of great pictures. Just like the Panorama, they've slapped crew-only placards on those. And as a result, we didn't get to utilize any of our secret spaces on board Carnival Radiance. So that was everything about the Carnival Radiance that we loved, that we didn't love, and that we hated. And I will say that we loved a lot, as you heard, but the didn't love and hated had quite an impact on our cruise experience. The attitudes from some of the crew members, the lack of enforcement of rules, and that terrible late night buffet. I mean, these are some pretty big things that I think will impact other cruisers' experiences as well. Now, there were some nits in there that you heard me mention as well that really didn't have a huge impact on the cruise, but some of the big ones were big. Based on my experience and across all of my Carnival sailings, I would give the Carnival Radiance, with its updates and its upgrades and all of the things taken into account, I would give the experience a 3.5 ship rating. It was not my favorite Carnival experience for sure, but there have also been other experiences that have not been great that we've talked about on the channel. This was somewhere in the middle, I would say. Would I recommend Radiance out of Long Beach? It depends. What are you looking for in your sailing? Radiance does a lot of shorter sailings, and so if that's what you're looking for, it could be a great option. But Carnival also has the Carnival Panorama sailing out of Long Beach, and we've been on that ship many times. If I had to choose, I likely would choose Carnival Panorama over Carnival Radiance. There's more to do, there's more crew interaction, and I'd say we enjoyed the food more. Now, I've not done the late night buffet since they made the change, so maybe we'll see once we get back on board Carnival Panorama. I hope that you found a couple of nuggets in this review that will help you as you plan out your cruise or you think about which ship is the right ship for me. If you have any questions, I have been on every single one of those Long Beach Carnival cruise ships. Drop those in the comments below. I'm happy to answer. If you have questions about the rooms, about the food, drinks, entertainment, anything like that, drop those in the comments below. We respond to everyone. Until the next time we see you on the sea, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll see you next time.